Mike Gill, State of Corruption. I have a guest today. I have someone that I met that I want you to meet, Greg Fedor. Greg, would you start by just telling people about your situation? Just before Greg starts, I want you to understand that Greg's circumstances touches drugs, the family court, and the corruption in the court. All right, Greg, tell us who you are.
Yeah, my name's Greg Fedor. I'm a father of two 7-year-old boys. I work in construction and also work part-time at Walmart. And, I'm a veteran. I served my country overseas. Proud to have served and, put in my time over there.
How long were you in the Army for?
It's a total of like 7 years.
7 years in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And how many hours a week do you work?
Between March and the beginning of this year, I was working an average about 60, 80 hours a week.
Okay, so we're not talking about a deadbeat. We're talking about a man who's working 70 to 80 hours every week. Go ahead, Greg. Tell us. You go.
Yep. Like Mike said, this touches all points, all voices. It's got the family court, we got heroin that's involved, drugs, and then we got the court system that doesn't listen to people that actually are on the correct side of things. And that's where we're at with this situation.
Tell me what happened. You have information here.
Yep.
Your wife made the front page of the Manchester Union Leader.
That's correct. Yep.
These are the articles that are in the Union Leader. Now, what did your wife, she's 42 years old,
Mm-hmm.
what did she get arrested for?
She originally was arrested for child endangerment and also for drug sales that were occurring at her house.
Her house,
Yep.
where your children live, too.
Yep.
So, as your children would live there, they're selling drugs. Now, was she there alone?
No, she had her boyfriend who was 21 years old. He was convicted of selling drugs, and he was a user himself. And then
A user of what kind of drug?
heroin and
Okay.
ecstasy. He also had ecstasy in his possession when he was arrested, and a loaded firearm that was stolen. And then in addition to her boyfriend's friend, who's a career criminal, was living there also, and he was selling heroin.
He was also arrested as a
Right.
drug dealer.
Yes, and he's, as far as I know, he's in jail for 10 plus years.
So let's think about this. Take a step. Greg's ex-wife, who had his two twin boys, had two drug dealers living with her at the time, both 21, and she's now 42. Okay? So this made the front page of the Union Leader. So what we're saying is not in dispute. Okay. What happened from there?
Okay, when I became aware of the situation, I made an ex parte to the court. They put it off 2 weeks. They didn't have me come in right away.
In an ex parte, it is an emergency meeting. Greg turns around and sees that they're selling drugs in front of his children, and he's asking the judge to step forward to act immediately.
Right, and we had a hearing 2 weeks later. The judge at that time said that what was going on at that house in particular was a bad situation, and that the mother's judgment was impaired, or it appeared to be impaired, in endangering the children's lives. And I was granted custody at that time, with the exception of when she would have them during the day at her parents' house being supervised visits by her parents.
So let's think about this. They get arrested for selling drugs out of the apartment that his twin sons were at. Greg then took custody of the kids. 30 days later, what happened?
30 days later, I was back in court exactly 1 day after I put the boys in daycare because my ex wasn't able to be at the house to be with the children at that time because her father was having a major heart issue and had to go to the hospital. He couldn't be at the house. Her mother couldn't be at the house because her father couldn't drive himself. So at that point, I put the children in daycare for that day and any other days that she wouldn't be available because we're starting to have issues with her not being able to watch the kids on Sundays, this day, that day, and a bunch of other days. And plus, my one son was having some difficulties, and it looked like he needed some additional schooling, or actually he wasn't even in any.
But let's think about this. You're working 70, 80 hours a week. Because you're working,
Yeah.
you have to have your children in daycare.
Right.
Now, how many of you put your children in daycare? Do you think that's a reason to lose them? So within 30 days of her arrest, the boyfriend's arrest, the other drug dealer in the apartment, his arrest, Greg has the kids taken away again. And who has them? The drug dealer.
Yep, she was awarded the kids. In fact, at that point, I was awarded even less parenting time than I originally had from the original divorce decree. I was down to Friday afternoon to Saturday afternoon, essentially one day.
So we got a drug dealer, and we got a veteran of 7 years in the military. He's working 78, 80 hours a week to support his children. Ready? It gets worse. If you think that's possible, now, Griggs has a hearing on March 29th in courtroom 101, 9th Citric Court in Manchester. I can tell you at 11 o'clock. I will be there. Now this is, and it just so happens that I can be an expert witness. So let me explain the situation. Greg's got a court date. And you know what? If he doesn't help his wife refinance the property, it's sitting here. Find him in contempt. Order sanctions to include 10 days at the House of Corrections due to respond unwillingness to deliberate and obstruct. Let's think about this. You see this here? This is from the lender. It says that she's only behind $48,000. And seeing I've transferred more mortgages than anybody in the United States, I think I qualify as an expert witness. Okay? So they're asking Greg to assist her with a free finance. She only hasn't paid the mortgage for 2 years to the amount that she owes, $48,000. So exactly, and listen, I've got a little experience on this, how does he qualify? He doesn't. You don't think Judge Corbin doesn't know that? What they're doing is shutting him up because of the drug dealing. They're taking his children in 30 days and giving it back to the drug dealer. Then they're going to put him in jail, not because he's not paying child support, because he can't help but refinance, which is impossible. Listen, I've done this for 26 years. You don't pay your mortgage in 2 years, guess what? I don't like your chances to refinance. They're going to put Greg in jail. Not if I can help it. And not if you shouldn't. This is a situation that is so outrageous, which is why I asked Greg to come in here. I meet with many people. This guy, those soldiers out there, those people who work 70, 80 hours, whether it's the father or the mother. And regarding heroin, she's in Manchester. We're having a problem. If you were Greg and they're selling heroin out of the apartment that his children live in, what would you do as a responsible parent? And that's why Greg's here. And that's why Greg's coming and talking to you as I have been. We all got to stand up for this. This can't continue to happen. Judge Corbin, I'm going to see you. March 29th, 11 o'clock. I'll be there. Make sure, and you know what else is going to be there? Greg, don't forget. We're going to have the camera. We're going to have the video.
Right. So
So those who can't make it, don't worry. We're going to have you all see it. You want to have a judge explain about putting this man in jail for working 80 hours a week and giving it to a drug dealer mother and put him in jail because he can't refinance a house that she hasn't paid on in 2 years. It's true. All of it's true. Or I wouldn't be bringing it to you. We can't have more Gregs. And listen, Greg represents all the victims in these courts. You want to know why we have such a heroin problem? Why don't you talk to the people of heroin? You know what you may just find out? This corruption in family court's been going on for years. What do you think are happening to our children in the broken homes in the DCYFs? What do you think Greg's the most afraid of with his 2 sons? You don't think they're being brought up into the drug business? They're only selling it out of the apartment. This is why we come to you. This is why we stand together. If you allow this to happen, then I'm calling you all cowards, and you deserve what happens. But I'm not going to stand and watch. All right, Greg. Thank you for coming forward.
I
And you know
appreciate
what?
it, Mike.
You don't see too many Gregs. You know why? Because they are scared. And you know why they do this? Because he is coming forwards. And it is dangerous to this court. That's a lesson for him to shut up. They put him in a situation that's unwinnable. He can't do... Listen, 2 years, haven't paid the mortgage. He can't refinance. So you tell me what this is. So Judge Corbin, I'm going to have you explain it. All right, thank you.